So hi again, everyone. My name is Holly Mays. I work for the Department of Associated Students as the Assistant Director of Governmental Affairs. And I have the pleasure to introduce to you your Internal Vice President, B. Schaefer. B, are you there? Okay, she may have stepped away for just a second. So, Jay, if you don't mind, I would love to have you introduce yourself next.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay. Hi, Jimena. It's been a while. Oh, there's B.
Hi, so my Wi-Fi is very lacking, so I'm sorry if I'm over talking anyone right now, but I just wanted to read a little solidarity statement that I wrote in conjunction with execs. So one second while I pull that up. It says, hello all, on behalf of the AS President, EVPLA, and Student Advocate General, and myself, I would like to welcome you to the the training on time management and study skills. The following curriculum supports our vision for the 2021-2022 academic school year and the knowledge we find essential for the association as we start fall quarter. Please note that this training session is a portion of the information you will be required to learn as per legal code. Please take this time to be an active participant by engaging with your fellow peers. We look forward to serving you. Thank you, and thank you, Jay. I'll pass it to you.
No problem, and thank you, B. Thank you to everyone for letting me be here. I have been very interested in AS and in sort of the kind of students that you are for a while. So before we get started, I'll introduce myself, and I have a number of small exercises that Tim Grigsby and I have worked on together, and I hope, Tim, that you will be here to correct me when I get things wrong. Well, you'll all correct me when I get things wrong. So my name is Jay. I work at Campus Learning Assistance Services, which I'm sure you know as Clas and CLAS. And we are a free tutorial service for all students at UCSB. And what I specialize in is academic skills. And so, you know, Tim and I have been meeting for a while. Sort of, we have this study space where y'all are invited to be there. It's Mondays at 3 to 4. We've been doing this online. I know that Tim has been pushing out messages to you, and that is still open. And then we're going to be, you know, in person, I believe in AS Maine starting in a couple weeks. So join us there and you'll hear messages about that. But yeah, what I do is I do individual consultations and also workshops about academic skills. And so I've gotten to know some AS students and learned a little bit about what you're like, and you are very distinct kind of students. And so I'm interested in that. And also I've learned about some of the challenges, particularly with the amount of workload that you have and the ambitions you have for accomplishment in your own academics that I think, you know, I'm interested in helping you with. So I have a Prezi presentation. I'm gonna share screen with you. I have a few different things that we'll be toggling between to kind of discuss this subject. So let me go ahead and share the screen. Okay, and we'll move that. And I'll find where I am. There it is. Okay. Everything gets tangled on here and I can never find what I need. All right, so you'll see here this workshop is not entitled time management. And you know, I may be wrong about this, but my experience with y'all as I've talked to students in AS Maine over the last, I guess it went back, not this last year, the year before, is that you all are exceptionally good at time management. Almost all of you engage in some sort of time management behaviors. Many of you engage in more intense kinds of time management behaviors than most other students. So I think that the issue that is different for AS students, and you all will correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have more engagement with long-term planning, project planning, and specifically with project planning, sometimes over the long term, that involves groups of people. And this is a particular kind of time management. So I wanted to just spend some time opening up that subject and exploring that subject with you. And so I have here, of course, all of my workshops. I tend to, have predatory animals on them. I don't know why, but so for this, it's, the wolf, right? The pack animal, but then also the idea of the lone wolf. So we want you all to be, comfortably and happily pursuing your goals, hopefully not predatory impacts. Okay, so all right, so yes, what I'm here to do, and really my engagement in AS is about supporting your learning and effectiveness as AS officers and entity members, entity leaders. I want to better understand your learning. There's another element of this that's sort of in the background, and I hope to develop further, which is that I would like to serve as a resource for any AS officers or entity personnel who are interested in doing things to improve my spelling habits here, to improve the learning conditions at the university. I know that over the course of distance learning, what classroom conditions are, evaluation conditions, these have been really subject of complaint and controversy, and I'd like to just open these conversations with representative students. And like I said, I've been doing this job for 17 years. My conservative estimate is that I've spoken to some 7,000 UCSB undergraduates over this time. Last year was kind of a wash. I only talked to about 500 students, but this is sort of my life, is talking to students about how they study. I would like to build a relationship between our departments, reminding everybody that CLAS is getting a $7 a year lock-in from AS. So I think that's just appropriate. All right, so let's go. I'm gonna start with, and oh boy, this is my first time ever using this app, so I don't know if I will accomplish this well. The first thing I want to do is some polls. And oh, do we have, I went to a separate app, but now I just learned that polls are actually operational here, but I think I need to set something up. Anyway, so we'll do it this way. I want to know how many of you have a project. I asked everybody to think about this a little bit before you come to this meeting. Do you have a project for this year in AS that will take 9 months or more to accomplish, between 2 and 8 months to accomplish, or a month or less to accomplish? And you can answer any of these. So there is on this, I'm going to go right here. Okay, so this is the app that I'm using to do this poll. And what you've got to do, I have to move this out of the way. Oh boy, we can't see it. All right, there. You have to go to this and use this code, and then you can fill out the poll. All right, and there's actually, and then you can forward through this screen. I think we're going to see the results on this screen if it's done right. Tim, do I have this right? Thank you. Does everybody know what to do? Good. Oh, sweet. Wow. I'm going to give you, oh, but only 2 people have participated. So that doesn't really tell us much. Keep going. Keep going. How many of y'all are in here?
There are 50 of us.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna chill here for a couple minutes. Wow. So there's at least 8 of you in here. No, I'm looking at this wrong. So there's at least a 5th of you. So about 5 of you who are maybe taking on multi-year projects. That's big. That is really big. And yeah, almost half of you thinking 2 to 8 month projects. That is big. I've got some chats here. So indecisive. 24 of you cannot make a decision about this. It's all right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So I think if you push your arrow keys, you can get, at least that's how it was working before. We can get to the next one. Oh, all right, you already did. Beautiful. Okay, so almost, yeah, everybody is saying that this will involve groups. Okay, so I'm happy about these answers because it means that I did not completely mispredict what sorts of things you all are involved in. So that reassures me greatly. Okay, so let's move along here. I've got some sensitive, okay, let me just take a deep breath here. All right, we've got the 27th person. Let's see if we can get up to 30. But no. All right, it's okay. It's totally all right. Like I can see, like, you know, maybe you're into AS and maybe you're more like, okay, you're going to be involved in somebody else's projects, or maybe you're not so sure yet what you want to do, and that it's sort of open right now. And I've definitely talked to AS students, you know, early in the year who are like sort of finding what sort of things are going to be pushing them forward. So, okay, let's go back over here. All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, this is you know, one of these corny teacher things, is a free write. And I am assuming, particularly if you've taken any humanities classes, but also some STEM classes, you have been exposed to the free write treatment here. And what this is about is just trying to get you to lift your thoughts and your memories up to the surface, because what we want to do is start thinking about, okay, what do we want to get out of this experience, right? Like what makes this good? What makes it not so good? So even if you have no former AS experience, I am relatively certain that at some point in your past, everybody in this room has had to do some kind of group work. You've had to work on a project with a group of people and there were deadlines involved. So what I'd like you to do, the free write routine is you put your fingers down on the keyboard or you pick up a pen and put it on a piece of paper, and you're going to keep writing for the entire 3-minute period that I'm going to call. Okay. And so you just first thought, best thought, you're just going to keep that hand moving, right? Or keep your fingers moving on the keyboard. And what I want you to do is write about, you're not going to have to share this, like this is no punctuation, don't worry about it. So just write about the last time that you had to work on a group project that involved deadlines. Think about what made that group, insofar as it worked well, what made it work well. Insofar as it didn't work so well, what made it that way? And make sure in those other things, because I think that some of you probably worked before together. If you're thinking about what the critique is, kind of like think about things you could have done better first before, but it's, yeah, I do understand group work is really, it can be tricky and people, can have trouble engaging with groups. Think about what made it work well, what made it work poorly. Okay, ready, set, go. All right, be finishing up that last sentence. Okay, so now's when the fun starts. I'm going to ask you to actually, and I'm going to see, oops, wrong way. I'm going to go into editor's view here, if I can remember. Okay, so I'd like to hear from y'all. And people can speak out. I see I already have a chat. I will never understand why y'all prefer the chat, but there it goes. Okay. Oh, well, I would, B, you have invited some former senators to be here, and yeah, I want to invite anybody to speak, especially people who have deep experience in this. And what I'm interested in right now is seeing if we can, like, really quickly, not spend too much time, but dummy up at least the beginnings of a best practices for when you're doing this kind of work together. What makes it work? What doesn't? And certainly if there are returning officers here who would like to say something, I'd be really interested in that. I think everybody would. So go ahead and speak out or give me a chat.
Hi, Jay. I reached out to the former senators and I haven't gotten a reply yet, but I know that Taylor Tate, who is a former senator and a current senator now, is in the audience. And so I guess maybe we could give her a few minutes to collect her thoughts and then speak.
Yeah, Taylor, if you'd like to speak, but anybody, like, just go ahead and jump in here. Tell me one thing that makes, I did the exercise too. I have to do group work. And I'm a loner. So tell me what makes it work. Tell me what makes it not work.
Hi, Jay. I think for me, something that worked a lot was having a strong communication with who you're working, whether that be group meets or like regular FaceTimes. Um, Having such busy schedules in AS, like most do, it's really easy to let things fall through the cracks. So having good communication and just making sure everyone's on the same page is really important.
Yeah, yeah, communication. So Gio.
Yeah, for myself, I think following along with communication is not just having a strong, well, I guess part of like developing a strong communication with a group or a team or an office is learning every member's like preferred form of communication and really understanding everybody's communication needs and wants. So, not everyone is gonna check their emails, not everyone is gonna check their texts like as often. So it's like making sure that like you understand like this is the person who I should be emailing because they check their emails like 3 times a day, versus this person who makes it clear that like they don't want to receive any phone calls. So understanding communication methods for each member is going to be really important with being successful in communication, but then being successful with like whatever group projects and work you're doing.
I love that, Gio, because I have terrible eyes and really, thick, slow, aged fingers. And the texting thing, I will never understand it. It's a plot against old people. Anyways, Jesse, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so what I saw that worked well was developing goals and missions at the beginning of the project. So you can see like, okay, what to follow through during the project, and as well as constant communication, giving each other updates regularly on how's your part doing, how how is it coming along and all that. So I found that worked well.
Yeah, communication about progress. That can really like it's very easy to have that starter meeting and everybody knows their task, and then it's just like not checking in with each other. Things can lag. People can lose heart in the project. So, doing some intermediate communication like that. It looks like there are 3 chats up here now. I don't know if it's Aja or Aya. For be realistic about what you need from your group and how much work you're capable of taking on alone. Absolutely. A long time ago, I was a union organizer, and one of my fellow organizers, who I didn't really get along with, but it always rang in my head this day that he told me, because I was like that person who I'm just going to do it all myself. And I was a task hoarder because, among other things, it was, making me feel special. And it was ego driven. And he said, Jay, if you're doing it yourself, you're probably doing it wrong. And he didn't mean that as like, Jay, you can't do anything right. He meant it as you are not delegating. And if you're an organizer, your task is to delegate, right? B, you got a hand up?
Yes, I do. That was exactly what I was about to say, is delegation is the most important quality for me as a leader. And I think for good leaders is to delegate tasks and see where you are needed and know when you're not needed. I would say I put down a few do's. Make sure you all have a do is to have a common goal. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but I came up with a lot of don'ts. I don't know if we're on that section yet.
Yeah, I was surprised because when I talk about group work, it's just like a wall of don'ts come up in my head, and I'm very pleased and surprised about how positive you all are. So go ahead, B, let's hear some don'ts.
So some of my don'ts were don't assume. It's just a very vague blanketed statement. It's don't assume that someone knows what you're talking about. Don't assume that, everyone in your group is on the same page. Although you're supposed to be, it's important to check in all the time to make sure that, there's no misunderstandings, because that can occur a lot in a group setting. Another thing is don't feel alone. So as a member of the group, you can feel like you're taking on a lot of the work, and maybe that's because there's a lack of communication, a lack of expectations you have as a team member. But it was just don't assume and don't feel alone. And also for those people who love taking on a lot of work, is not to take over the space. In group settings, I've seen people take over the space, and because of that, other group members who would kind of take on a role decide not to, because they think that it's best in somebody else's capable hands. But I want to tell you all that no, take up space as well, and just in the beginning of the group, discuss your boundaries and what you plan on doing and how you work best in a group so that you can be an equal contributor. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Jay.
No problem. Thank you. That was excellent. Yeah, discuss those boundaries and that taking over the space. And I do want to also comment here, and this is, sort of, I think most people who are involved in education know this, that this whole thing about who's taking on more work, who's taking on less work, who's speaking the most, who's speaking less. Obviously, these things can all be racialized and gendered. So, when you see like these imbalances, this is another angle through which you want to analyze that situation. Sophia? I see a hand up. Sophia, are you there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, some of the do's I think that we're mentioning now are definitely compensation for people's schedules, right? And like you were talking about with texting and how that's difficult for some people, just being aware that, we should share everybody's ideas, but also compromise. And then everybody has particular access needs, such as yourself, you mentioned that. So keeping that in mind as well.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that some of us who are maybe the more like, I want to do everything, you know, who get like over eager in this. Like we're thinking about it in terms of making sure you're not like taking on too much, don't take over the space, all of this. And then we're sort of reflecting on that. But you're also saying by the same token, and I'm definitely not from AS, from some of the student groups on campus, I've heard about these routines of new people in the orgs winding up getting dumped with work. Like there is profound delegation going on. And that's, so the other part of this is make sure you're not doing that. Make sure that, you know, you are speaking up about your own, like your boundaries and what kind of communication. So, but also that everybody's got to be sensitive to what people need. Okay, I want to move along here a little bit because we don't have a whole bunch of time in this session. But I do want to look at these. Okay, communication and understanding is a do, absolutely. And I want to, you know, add to that understanding element. It's also, if we could say, you know, get those elements of compassion and sympathy. If somebody is not, you know, working to the level that you would like, you know, that you're going to try and be gentle with each other. Active communication, compensation for people's schedules, making sure that you know what's going on, and including everybody's ideas and access needs. Yeah, I like that so much, Sophia. Like, I think that one of the things, well, you know, if you are a fan of Project Runway, we all know that the group work falls apart when people's ideas aren't included. So maybe you aren't. Okay, so let's move right along and look at some other things here. I'm going to go back to the present view. This was a good list. And, you know, I think that you want to keep these things in mind as you're meeting with your teams. Okay, so what I want to do now, and I'm going to, okay, here is, now we're going to be looking at a Gantt chart. And I know that some of you have worked with these before. But I wanted to work through one of these to just make sure everybody's exposed to this form of time management tool, because it can be quite effective for group work with deadlines over a long period of time. And I also want to, you know, sort of just get everybody's sort of awareness of time frames and everything, and get everybody back into that mode of the university and the bureaucracy. Thank you, Tim. Okay, so I'm copying this link, and then to everyone, I'm putting this in the chat. All right, now what I need you to do with this is I need you to open it in your own Googles rather than editing, which you can't do because you're just viewers. If you look at it in my Google, you just open it, you can only look at it, right? Does everybody get what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you a minute here to do that. And while you're doing that, let's just look at the features of this so that everybody knows what a Gantt chart is. Has anybody used one of these before? Okay. So I don't see any hands going up. All right, so this is a form, it's a time management tool, and you can, there are lots of apps for this online. You can pay for super fancy ones. This one I made up on Google Sheets. I did have to learn some new formulas, but and if you learn some formulas, you can make it even fancier. Okay, but you'll see here it's got, you know, room for all of the basics at the top. And then you can number all of the basic element here is the task title. So, you know, this is where you write down like all of the different tasks that have to happen. And then you can number them over here. Sometimes people use this and use actually Roman numerals. So it'll be like, there'll be a cluster of tasks that will be kind of the same theme. And you'll say, okay, that's part 1. And then you go 1.1, 1.2. And then you put in the task titles. And here you can put in the task owner. And then you put in a start date and a due date. And it will automatically calculate the duration of the task. You can start tracking how much of the task is complete, but it will also do this thing of starting to mark in these blocks. So you can see the tasks as sort of this, how they flow through time in a very helpful way. So let me just show you this really quickly. If I put in here that a task was going to start on 9/15/21 and that the due date for that task is 9/18/21, you'll see it marks it in there. All right, so you can see all of the levels and the streams of the task. All right, so this is what's going to happen here. Going back to that. So everybody got where we are? Are there any questions or concerns? Does anybody need some help right now? It's going to be fun. We have a little exercise. Okay, so what I want everybody to do, go back. All right, what I want everybody to do is I'd like you to imagine that you're planning an event. All right, it's going to have an audience of 300 people at 7 p.m. on November 19th. I'm going to put you into groups here in a minute, or am I? I hope that that option is open. Do we have this option?
Yes, we do.
Okay, for some reason I'm not seeing it right away, but okay. So we need to be in groups here of 4. Well, maybe we should make it. Yeah, 4 will work. And in your work group, I want you to figure out all of the steps to accomplish the task. Think about what would it take to have a 300-person event on November 19th. And I'd like one of you to be sort of like the usual thing with these sort of group brainstorms. One person should write them down, write down what you come up with. And the first thing is just to write down all of the tasks you can think of. So like, oh, we've got to make advertisements for this. We've got to get the rent, all of the things you can think of. And then I want you to try and number them, say what order they would go in. And then you can use the sort button in that column to sort them out. If you have trouble with that, that's okay. Probably someone, if there's 4 of you in the group, someone will know how to do a sort in Excel. It's kind of intuitive, but maybe not. But yeah, these are the first 2 steps that I want you to take. And I'm going to go ahead and be silent and let you do that for about 5 minutes. All right. So, how was that experience for people? Did anybody feel like they didn't know what to do if you're trying to put on an event by the 19th? Did anybody notice that some of the details of this were a little murky for you?
I think many of us, we've never really held an in-person event, so it's different. And so I think that's where it gets kind of complicated.
So yeah, if it's something you haven't done before, absolutely. And this goes back to, I can't remember who provided this remark in our previous brainstorm about don't assume that, this year, all of you are very likely to be trying to do something you've never done before. And one of the things is that you are trying to do this long-term group projects in the context of a giant bureaucracy. So you need to know, like, okay, it's that thing about not assuming is like, okay, what are the steps for this? Asking people, finding the information, noticing like as you're planning, wait, this is a little bit murky for me. This is a little bit unclear, you know, adding to the list. I need to find out about this. Let's, one of the ones that, Joanne and I were hung up on, and Joanne has been through this process before, but it was still like, okay, wait a minute, I can't remember this, right? Joanne, chime in here if I'm getting you wrong, but that's what I think I heard, is like, so it was, we got to the point of, we need to find funding for this event, right? And Joanne, remember, like, you can get funding, you get funding from AS, but you can also go out and solicit other departments, right, for support of an event. Joanne, I think you couldn't remember, even though you've been through this before, how do you get money out of AS? Like, what is that process? What exactly is that process? Okay, can somebody really quickly give me the rundown about, like, you want to do a 300-person event? And thank you, Kat. You've got a 300-person event and you want to get funding for this. What's the process? What are the steps? I've got 2 chats here. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. No. Okay.
Maybe check if you have a budget that you can tap into within your own organization or office that is allocated for that.
Okay, so you draw up a budget and then you present it to, like, the entity that you're part of, the org that you're part of, so that, you know, they can clear through that money if they've got money that's allocated for that kind of activity. Okay, so this is, you know, what Tim and I made Tim run through this, and you guys can, if Tim has it wrong, then, you know, I don't know. So Tim might have it wrong. You can mock him. I don't mean that, don't mock Tim. All right, so this is what we came up with. We came up with 11 steps. Can you all see? Oh no, because I'm not sharing screen. There. All right, we came up with 11 steps, and I just want to show this to you and show you the whole thing before I have to let you go here, so that you can ponder this, and perhaps, you know, you all have this Gantt chart now. You can maybe you find this a useful tool, or maybe you can find some extremely elaborate Gantt charts online, and, you know, maybe you want to go for something that's more detailed or less. But I just wanted to show you this filled out and then see what you think about it. Tim and I thought it would go like this: get a quote from the vendor, whoever you're inviting to present at this event. It may be a free thing. You may be just saying, okay, we want to do a round table of basic needs officers, right? Or something like this, right? Free. But you at least need to recruit that person, right? Find out about the room that you're going to have. What are the parameters, and reserving this if possible. Writing project proposal, including the costs. Presenting a project proposal to the funding entity, so and get approval. You have to then get that approved, the minutes of that meeting approved through the Senate. And then, you know, if you still don't have your room reserved, you know, work on that. Then you have to turn over the project with any cost quotes to AS administration for processing and business approval. And then you design promotionals, print display promotionals, distribute and circulate the promotionals, contact the vendor to troubleshoot arrival, and then you have to staff the event, which may include cleanup, and definitely introducing your guest from the stage. Does this sound about right? Chime in here if you think that this doesn't look right. See, Tim knows what he's doing. I would not have been able to come up with this. I would have guessed. Did anybody miss any steps as you tried to do this?
Yes, we did.
What step did you miss?
I think it was reserving a space. If I'm not sure, Joe was in my group, and Joe was referring to an event that they held similar to this, so maybe they could weigh in. But
Joe, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we had to discuss pretty far in advance to reserve the space for the size that we needed. We ended up going with Loma Bologna Center, and we had to come very early in the morning to get it all set up too.
Right. This is, I think, the space reservations. And I think that the university just opened up, or at least student affairs, I'm not sure which office it was, opened up general space reservations today. So yeah, that's an issue, like figuring out the timing of that, especially some of the places. I mean, if you want to go for Campbell Hall, if you want like a bigger room, they're asking for deposits sometime or very early reservation. So figuring out all those parameters is really important. Now you'll start looking at this. Here's where, and I know I'm gonna have to let you go in a minute, but I just want to show you this. This is how the Gantt chart works out. What do you notice about it? Does anything stand out to anybody? This whole task right here is just promotions, right? And creating those promotionals. What do you notice right there, dead center, line 18? How many weeks is that? So my understanding is that that turnover to AS administration takes like 3 weeks. So I just wanted to, like, when you start laying this out, it's sort of like, and start putting in the dates, which unfortunately we didn't have time to do in this workshop, but next time around. Tim and I came up with that, if you want to do this by the 19th, you probably want to be starting next week. That's something that, and I want to say, like, this is not like, ooh, you irresponsible students don't know how to start early enough. No, this is about you're dealing with a giant bureaucracy with major liability issues if contracts aren't signed right. So you need to like predict all of these things and lay them out. And if there's a 3-week lag or a 3-week turnaround on some documentation or on some administration, you have to be aware of that. Which brings me to my last point, and then I promise I'll let you go. Right in here is task owner. All right. And what I recommend on this is you not only put in the names, but you put in the full contact information. Even adding another column in here wouldn't be a bad idea. And then, you know, even here, if the people who you're talking to in AS administration are, you know, they're not part of your entity or the group you're working with, but for this project, they are part of your team. So even at the beginning, making everybody on that list aware of this is what we're planning, this is what we're going to do. Are you going to be okay getting this packet of stuff somewhere around the 7th of October? You know, making sure everybody's aware of the timeline and is bought in on it. Is important. It's that communication thing. Once you have one of these going, you can have it in a Google space and everybody can keep referring to it, adding notes to it, and communicating around it. I've got a couple chats here. Pre-planning. B would like to read a statement from a former senator before the time ends. So let's go ahead and hear that and I'll let you go. B?
Hi, everyone. So I reached out to the 71st Senate to see if they could attend to give you a few real life examples of how their role in the association fits into like their schedule in real life, and how they manage their time with academic, social engagements, and personal time. So I know this is Senate specific. However, a lot of the roles and duties and responsibilities that you have as a BCU member do entail taking on the same amount of work as a fellow senator, just in a different, more tailored space. And so this is from former Senator Anushka Holder, who is now the current chair of TQCOM. And she said, one second. She said, AS is sometimes incredibly rewarding and also incredibly time consuming. It can consume you if you let it, if you don't set boundaries and you don't plan ahead. It isn't to scare you, but to encourage you to be proactive, to make this work as a sustainable and possible opportunity for you to achieve, because it can take a toll. AS is filled with situations where you will be pushed, and time is definitely a factor. From emergency meetings, weekly meetings for AS members, and AS meetings taking up to 9 hours in extreme cases. There will be times, I apologize for my dogs, I have 4. There will be times when you are juggling school, work, and AS, and times when you lose balance and drop the ball. The important thing is to communicate, set a schedule, and ask for help when you need it. Make Google Calendar your best friend. Talk to your professors and be honest about the things you're juggling, especially in advance of finals and midterms, and with special meetings looming on the horizon. Ultimately, you know what works best for you. Just make sure you get to be the person at the end of the day in which you feel positive. In addition to being a student, the AS and an AS member, make time for yourself. I will say that her words are really, I feel, inspiring, especially for students with heavy commitment levels. You have to be realistic with yourself, check in with yourself, and most of all, ask for help. As chair of the Senate and a person over honoraria committee, I implore you all to reach out to me when your workload is getting in the way of your ability to achieve academic success and maintain a balance of your mental health. Let me know, let Holly know, let Marcella know, as a resource to you all, so that you have the opportunity to have more space to heal and have time for yourself, as well as I want to promote people working together. So if you and you have a Senate liaison and they're sticking to their roles and duties, and maybe as a member of the BCU, you can use more help in a specific area, tell the senator that, ask me, and I can probably get together a team to help you. So that's all I wanted to say, is that this year is going to have a lot of time commitments. There's going to be a lot of unknowns as we transition back on campus, especially because a lot of you haven't even been on campus. And I want to be there for you and help in that transition. I know there's some execs in the audience who want to help with that transition. So please know that you're not alone, and you can always reach out, and we will be reaching to you all to make sure you all feel supported. So thank you.
Thank you, Bea. And I want to really reflect back to you how good it is to hear, sort of the tone you're setting for things of, support for everybody's effectiveness, but also, their academic success and, their mental and physical health through, you all are going to be working hard. AS is hard work, and you are taking on some stuff on behalf of your fellow students. And it isn't always recognized. I've been aware for these last years that I've become sort of a little more, watching what's going on with AS. I'm aware of how hard you work and why, and what kinds of projects you take on, and I'm impressed. And I would like to also extend to you, Tim and I are hanging out at 3 o'clock every Monday. just talking about you. So show up and then you can talk with us about you. And yeah, I'm interested in hearing any of your academic challenges, any of your time management challenges, and also just if you need to complain or brag. And that's totally acceptable and welcome. So I want to thank you all once again for letting me join you today. I want to wish you all of the best of luck with what you're going to be doing this year. And I will be watching and rooting for you. Okay. Bye-bye.